I'm Cindy Cantu, and I wanted to ask you a question. Want to spark up an interesting conversation amongst parents, teachers, and administrators? Bring up the term high stakes testing. That'll be sure to bring up some very interesting and exciting conversations as it has become a very controversial topic in many states in our nation. High stakes is a term that refers to a single test that is used to make vital decisions about the future of students, teachers, and schools. Now, these decisions are used to make decisions such as, can a student be retained or promoted, receive honors classes or remedial classes? It also affects teachers and their salaries and bonuses if their school districts allow for bonuses based on here in Texas, STAR test results, which is a high stakes test here in Texas. It affects our schools. High stake testing affects our schools by funding, the amount of funding maybe the government gives and how they can use that money. There are some benefits to high stakes testing, which I will talk about in just a bit, but I wanted to talk about the cons of high stakes testing and why I do not support high stakes testing. First of all, is maybe an obvious to a lot of teachers and parents as well as students, is that these high stakes testing they get a lot of pressure. It's very pressurous to take this test and to prepare for it. The amount of pressure that's placed on even our youngest of learners, I'm sure a lot of students who are not even taking the STAR test are already hearing about the term STAR test. And even when my son was in second grade, he's already heard of the STAR test and high stakes testing, which did make him nervous about entering third grade, where he knew he'd be affected by this test. And even some of the consequences that can happen of not being able to perform with these tests. So, in a third grader's in about 9 or 10 years old, and having to live up to expectations that their teachers are placing, that their parents are placing, that the schools are placing on them, it weighs a lot on them. These tests affect the teachers by, even they feel the pressure of getting these students to pass, because their ratings as a teacher, whether they're determined effective or ineffective, are placed on the way these students are testing. The schools are feeling the pressure because government funding. We may lose funding. We might lose a credibility in our schools. Schools can be shut down if the students are not performing, if the teachers are not teaching maybe rigorously so that these students can pass the test. Another reason why I do not support this high stakes testing is the type of decisions that are being made off the test. Do I agree with assessments? Yes. But do I agree with them being at a high stake? No. These decisions are determining whether a student will get a retention letter or be retained starting in, I believe it's 5th grade. If a student does not pass one of the STAR tests, they have more of a chance of being held back, not even worrying about how well they did throughout the year. Did these kids receive AB honor roll or A honor roll, but they just cannot pass these tests? And that's a determining factor whether they get retained or not. That's one big reason why I do not approve of the tests. Another reason is, and this is something that hits close to home, is loss of electives. These students at a certain grade level in middle school receive elective choices. Now, whether or not they pass these high stakes testing determines whether or not they get to choose electives: band, AVID, choir, their PE, their athletics program. They may not be able to join their free electives of choice, and those electives are being replaced with remedial classes or extra test prep when they can be having another elective, a stress-free, creative elective. Something else that has hit close to home that I do not approve of is whether or not if the student does not pass one of these STAR tests, they're getting time taken away from their specials, which could be their PE, music, or art. Now, I've seen this firsthand in my school, in the elementary school where I teach, that the PE teacher is having to take away 10 to 15 minutes out of his PE education to do some writing prep. So all the students, 3rd and 4th grade, are being instructed to take their journals to PE along with them, where the PE teacher will conduct a 10 to 15 writing prep time with his students every day. So their physical education and their creative education is being taken away at the cost of these high stakes testing. Another reason why I do not support these high stakes testing is the loss of instructional time. I hear that a lot in the campus. I teach early childhood education, and I've taught it for many years, so I have yet to teach a testing grade, but I do support those teachers by attending the meetings and supporting them and encouraging the teachers and the students to do their best, because of course we do want them to do their best. But I do hear them talk a lot about they're losing instructional time. Their curriculum is becoming narrowed, and hence the term teaching to the test. We want these students to do well and perform well, but when are the teachers going to have time to teach something that is not in a textbook, something exciting, something fun that would be useful, and relevant to them and in their culture? There's many more cons to this test. However, I do want to highlight some of the benefits that this high stakes testing does is it's held a lot of accountability to our campuses and our school districts around America. Not just accountability, but inclusion with our spec ed department. They're now being held accountable how these students with disabilities are performing in the tests. They're being included in the scores, therefore the teachers are having to teach rigorously with them. I've seen that firsthand also with my son being dyslexic. He does enjoy reading, however, does have difficulty in the area because of his dyslexia. So, as a parent, I'm happy with that he's having to receive those services, and he does get accommodations with his high stakes assessment. However, the pressure to be able to do well, even with those accommodations, are hard to watch him go through. Another benefit to high stakes testing are that they positively recognize those schools that are performing and reward those schools with funding as well as those teachers. I feel that there's more cons to high stakes testing than there is pros. I feel that government leaders, policymakers, teachers, and parents all need to be involved in how America, how our great state of Texas and how our school districts are going to come together to build a test or come up with a series of tests that maybe assess them midway or quarterly or bi-monthly, and use teacher anecdotal notes and teacher observations and writing samples here, there, and in between to come up with something that would benefit and highlight the student at some point during the year, not just one test, one day, one time. And these students better be on point on this day and time, and they better be with full bellies, with a good night's rest, everybody, the same test, the same questions, just to be able to measure how the students in one state are doing compared to a student in another state or citywide. I think something does need to change, something needs to happen so that all our students can shine in their areas, and does also shows, our growth, because everybody does need growth. So do I support assessments? Yes, just not at the cost of it being at a high stake. Thank you for listening, and I will see you later. Bye.